All right. Thank you all for showing up. I can't believe how popular, thank you, how popular this presentation is. This is great. So if anybody's wondering, well, what are we presenting today? It's the West Tower design. The last update we gave you was March 27th. So, you know, a lot of design has been made since then, and hopefully you folks can be pleased at the progress that's been made. I think the focus today will be on amenity spaces. So not so much, you know, the stuff you'd be less likely to be interested in, such as mechanical and infrastructure. But you know, what is it? What of this West Tower will intrigue our current existing residents? So hopefully this presentation does that. So as you know, this is Mithun. We've got Ken Boyd here, who's leading the design team for the West Tower. And also sitting down, we've got Greg Catron and Sean Cryan, two additional Mithunis. We have Don Lane in the audience. What's that? Oh, my name is Eli Lemansky. I'm the, thank you for asking. I work here. I work here. Yes, yeah, fair point. Anyways, I'll be quiet and I'll just hand this over to Ken.
Oh my God, thank you, Eli. Wait, it's Eli, right? Oh my God, I gotta stop laughing. Thank you everybody for coming and seeing the West Tower project update. So like Eli said, the last time we talked was back in March. I'm going to give you a couple of reminders of what we looked at back then. But today we're going to, like Eli just said, we're going to focus mostly on the amenity spaces, but we're actually going to focus even more on one particular level of the amenity spaces, which is the connector level on what's B2. So there are other amenity spaces that we're not going to talk about today. It's just that because we're getting a little bit more in depth, worried a little bit about too much time taken for too much stuff. I'll point that out to you when we get there. Good question though. What is the connector level? So real quickly, I'm just going to do a quick, and now it's not advancing. There we go. Oops. Oh, I just screwed up. Somebody help me. What did I do wrong? Full screen.
That's why the rest of us came to help Ken out.
There we go. Okay, that's better. There we go. Okay. Last time, sorry about that. Last time we talked about the overall program goals for the tower project. So these are still our overall goals that we're striving for every time we do a design meeting or we go through coordination with our engineers. We always keep these goals in mind. So the first one's maximizing the outdoor space. Second one is maximizing amenity space and meeting rooms. The third one is secure access to Freeway Park. The fourth one is to improve internal connections, the connector we're going to talk about today. The next one is to enhance the Monday market. And then finally, we want to explore sustainability strategies, including a low carbon footprint. Right? So mostly today we're going to be talking about the maximized amenity spaces, outdoor spaces, and the connection. We have done work on the other sections, but I just wanted to focus our talk today on one of that stuff. The other thing we talked about last time was the design schedule and where we are. We talked about the 2-track system where there's the track where we're going to be working with the city through approvals and all that stuff, which includes what's called an early design guidance, a master use that rolls into a master use permit, and then finally the building permits. So the early design guidance process has started. We basically have scheduled an early design guidance meeting with the city. That's a public meeting. Many of you will have access to that meeting. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to share with you just a little snippet of what we are going to prepare to share with people at that meeting. It's the first step essentially in our public process, and that meeting is basically towards the end of this month. So and then also on the Horizon House side of it, we're working with you and the executive team here at Horizon House through the design process, and we're in the middle of what we call the design development stage. So we're not even done with design development yet. That's still a couple months away, and we've been meeting with certain groups, including what I'm going to share with you today. Most of what I'm shared with you today, we shared with what is called the resident professional group, which is a group of residents that are design professionals, and some of who are in the audience, I know. And we shared with them just last week. So some of the stuff we're sharing with you today is literally hot off the presses. In fact, our contractor, who's also sitting on, has not even seen these images yet. Good question, Eli. So I think I saw Grant over there raising his hand. Grant Hildebrand. He's here. Jane Hastings is sitting in the back. Hi, Jane. Good to see you again. John Malum, are you here? John is not here. George Loschke is not here today. Okay, so we got two. Great. So that's where we are on our schedule. So you can see there's quite a ways still to go to get all the permitting done and the design and the drawings done. So again, today you're going to be seeing stuff that looks good, a little bit more finished than when you saw the last time, but there's still a little ways to go to finish it off, right? And so we still have a little bit of process to go through. That's all I'm going to say about that boring stuff. Okay, I'm going to orient you with a drawing here. So this is a bird's eye view of the campus with the West Tower project included. And you can see the West Tower is to the right. And is there a pointer on this? Or a mouse? Okay, can you see the mouse? Great, okay, perfect. Okay, so the connector we're talking about this is essentially where my mouse is where the existing Parkview Terrace is today. Can't see it. Oh. There. Okay. There's a huge delay. Wow. Okay. I'll have to pay attention to that. So right where my mouse is the existing Parkview Terrace. This project is actually going to extend and make the Parkview Terrace longer and actually attach or connect it to the new West Tower project. So there'll be an outdoor connector at the B1 level, the same level as the Parkview Terrace, and that's what you're seeing here. Below that is level B2, which equivalent to level C on the west wing. The B2 is where the hobby shops are, the wood shop, that stuff in the Parkview, below the Parkview Terrace. This is the level we're going to be talking about today, the B2 level and the hobby level and the connector that comes all the way around and connects both to the terraces, the new terraces that you see here, as well as to the West Tower. There's lots of new spaces there, including at the end of the journey, we'll have what we call at the bottom of the tower, we call the Winter Garden, which is an outdoor space with glass to connect you to the park. I think we talked about that last time as well. So I'm superimposing now a little blue arrow of the journey we're going to go on. So I'm going to take away the buildings and focus now just on that level and orient you again. Okay, so it's the same sort of bird's eye view that we're looking in. And since the mouse is so slow, I'm going to wait for a second. There, you see where the hand is the elevators that are just over there. The elevators that take you down to the... See it? Okay. Those are the elevators from Parkview Lounge, that connect to Parkview Lounge and the Fireside Lounge, and go down to the hobby. So that's the beginning of our journey. This is the hobby row, as we're calling it, right here. And then some of the new stuff that we're going to be presenting today, we're calling this the Loggia Lounge. Okay, which it's basically the terminus of the hobby row connector and the first connector to the new terraces. This right here is a new flexible event space, not unlike this space, but except bigger. And then that has a connection to what we're calling the loggia, which is just outside, which basically acts as that internal connector. So it's which has a glass wall to the outside, open to the outside terrace. The outside terrace, you see, we're calling it the sculpture park. So some of the sculptures that you have today will be relocated and placed onto this sculpture park, or onto this terrace. If we keep going through the loggia, you'll see at the end of it is the new Monday market. So the Monday market now is going to be a little bit more accessible. It's at the end of this cool connector, which also happens to have, if you see in this little diagram, happens to have a little stair that actually connects to level 1. And there's a small bank of elevators next to that also connect you to level 1. So there'll be different ways for you to get to the Monday market. If you go around adjacent, there you can see there's a glass wall here and a little corridor there with some nice seating in it, and you'll see an image there of all of these things here pretty soon. There we have the winter garden at the very end. And then outside the winter garden is what we're calling the community garden, which is actually the garden plots. That some of them are located in today is the secret garden has some of the garden plots, and then level C and D terrace has some of we're consolidating them all in this one area. So that's just to orient you where we're going. So now what I'm going to focus on, again, here's our little blue arrow, the little journey we're going to go on. And our first stop in the journey is the Loggia Lounge. And we have some images to show. So this is coming out of the Hobby Row corridor, looking out towards that sculpture terrace. And the Loggia Lounge is to my right. So we're seeing a couple of things in this image. What we're focusing a lot on and what we're doing is making sure that we have space for art. The Horizon House has a great art collection, and we want to want to make sure there's plenty of places to show off that art. We also want to make sure that we're connecting to the outdoors that you have, and then you have also, you can see in the image, you have opportunity for seating areas in multiple locations, multiple types of seatings and stuff. So there's a little, at the end, you can see a couple of chairs with a little table at the end there for a nice place to sit. Okay, we'll see what we can do, Grant. Thank you. Does that work better? Okay. And we can still see each other too. That's good. Oh, no, now okay, that's maybe better. I'm doing better with the microphone this time, aren't I? Last time I was having problems remembering to eat the ice cream cone. B2. Right, B2 of North Tower, or equivalent of C for the West Wing. They turned them up again. Does that work? Oh, and you got these on, that's why. Okay. That worked great. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the next image, we're still in the same general area, but now I've walked just a little bit and I've turned right. So the actual loggia lounge you're seeing in there behind the screen element, we're creating this nice little nook area, again, with a variety of seating and potential art and or sculpture. You're seeing the connection. There's a door to the left that you're seeing in this image out to the terrace, and then a nice daylit space that has a table and chairs and some soft seating area. And you also notice that what we're trying to do is bring in some warmth in terms of the, so it feels a little bit cozier and warmer in this space. And that's something you're going to see throughout these images. And that's last image is actually now we're in the loggia lounge, and you can see looking back towards that screen element and looking back towards the loggia. And again, the designs and the furniture selections aren't necessarily finalized. We haven't actually gone through the actual furniture selections, but we're showing what could be potential in terms of the what the look and feel might look like, or what the typology could be, or meaning the types of chairs and types of tables. We at Mithun, we love our live edge tables, so of course we have to sneak them in somewhere. The current B2 garage that's under Central Tower stays under Central Tower. We're actually skirting around the B2 garage, right? So that's the, even though we're down at the same level as that, it's actually, we're going around the edge of it. Yep, good question. Yes?
I'm coming with the mic.
Since the parking has come up, I'm wondering if you are planning enough parking for current residents as well as all of the anticipated residents.
We're working on the parking. There's still some things in flux, which is maybe one reason why we're not going to show you the parking garage today. So we were actually just talking about it earlier today internally in our team about some of the things that we need to finish to do that, because it is a challenge in that the shape of what's the garage it is today, the shape meaning the form, not how, whether it's clean enough. It actually is not even today's garage is not very efficient layout. And so we're trying to figure out a way to make it more efficient. I know that it was just announced about a ride share program where you might have a fleet of vehicles available.
Mm-hmm. And maybe to answer Judy's question very directly, we will have more parking, I believe, than we do today, but not by the increase of households the West Tower will bring us. So the West Tower will offer 150 more households, 152 additional households. We will not have 152 additional parking spots, but we will have more parking spots. And keep in mind that there is some competing goals. One of our goals is for Horizon House to be more sustainable. And one of the ways to do that is, for instance, to maybe explore ride share programs and not necessarily create more opportunities for people to, park their gas guzzlers. And it goes beyond the scope of today's meeting. Thank you, John.
We
Yeah.
have one more question.
Can you compare the square footage of the proposed Monday market with the square footage of today's Monday market?
Yeah, it's the same.
Including their storage area?
Yeah, it's the same square footage. We're not there yet. By the way, what slide are we on? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the calendar.
Okay,
sorry.
well, we've got many slides to show. It is, but just to answer the question real quick, just as much square footage, which is what the Monday market is asking for, but a lot more storage.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we are going to move on. We're going to move on to the next section. So now we're going to be looking at the loggia and the flexible event space and that little, where that staircase is, and the little hub next to the Monday market. So the images 4, 5, and 6. So 4 is now we've just left the loggia lounge and we're traveling down towards the Monday market. The flexible event space is to our left, and the terrace is to our right. There's a very distinct thing you see in this image, in that we're trying to really emphasize the connection between the indoor-outdoor. So we actually have a planter in this design that actually is a planter that's both an exterior planter as well as an interior planter. And then we have some seating opportunities next to the interior planter. So we think that's a really cool, again, very warm, welcoming, nice place to hang out, any time of the day. We think this one's pretty exciting for us. We actually like that idea. Now I've gone into the flexible event space. So this is actually a view of me presenting, looking out at you towards the back towards the loggia, if we were actually having this meeting at the flexible event space. So I'm now looking back towards, we have the doors open. There are operable partitions on the back of the way we have this designed right now, so that we could actually make the space bigger, flex out, and add more seating out into the loggia. And there's actually a visual connection again to the terrace that you see beyond, as well as there's clear story lights, or windows, above that connect you to the sky beyond and bring in some natural light when you need it. Those windows can be blacked out or shaded for privacy and or for presentations that you need to black out. Yes, roughly. So I think this seats about 175 people max. I don't know if that's how many we have in here now. Probably not. This can seat 250, the new space, and then can flex potentially up to 300. So it might be your favored location for your fireside chats, I think. And presentations like this. So some of the trees that you see in this image are the trees of I think that we're showing are the trees of the freeway park beyond, right? So we wanted to demonstrate that you actually are seeing views of the freeway park, right?
Maybe it's best that we hold off on questions for now, just so that we can make it through the presentation, because I'm worried that we're only a third of the way through.
Okay. All right, now I've walked down to in front of Monday Market, and I've turned around and I'm looking back towards the flexible event space and the loggia. That stair I mentioned is now to my right. That would take me up to level B1, which would be the entry level of the West Tower, and eventually another stair that goes up to level 1, which would connect me to the dining. Or I can actually go right behind that stair and get into an elevator. It would take me up to those same 2 levels. So I have a choice, stair or elevator, for shuttling up and down between the amenity levels. And then you can see that again, the quality of the warmth, we're actually showing opportunities for art. We have a column here that is showing a piece that could even potentially be art piece, or maybe it's the digital display board for announcing events like this. So now we're going to move just slightly into the sort of the final leg here before we get to the winter garden. So I've got 4 images here. The first one, now I've moved out onto the sculpture garden, the terrace. The terrace will be a combination of what we call hardscape or like deck area type area. We're showing wood in this. We're not done with figuring out whether we can do a wood deck or pavers or what the paving needs to be. The planters, this is the planter to the left is the planter I showed you from the inside. We actually made this planter an oval shape, and so it's an oval shape on the inside and outside, which we also think is pretty cool. When you're going to be up in your apartments looking down, you're going to be seeing these shapes when you look down on the terrace. And you're going to see an image later that's going to show you that. Again, same thing about the variety of seating opportunities and the opportunity for having intimate spaces out on the terrace. It's not just going to be a big sea of pavers out there. And these raised planters and mounded planters are going to allow us to plant some nice trees out there. So we'll have some really nice foliage and hopefully attract the birds and the bees and the rest of the pollinators that we all love. So I'm going back inside, and this is a very, very sketchy sketch. Again, hot off the press, but we just needed to show you that Monday Market is underway, but this is now I'm at the bottom of the stair looking towards Monday Market, and the art wall that you see, the brown that you see to the right is that wall that had the art on it to the left in that last image, and I'm looking towards the entry of Monday Market. So it's going to be it's an opportunity for the entry to be a little bit more transparent to the Monday Market, so you can actually have some potential display there, as well as maybe a cool opportunity for some signage or announcements or something in that little red box over to the right. So super sketchy, but we've been working. I think we've had 2 meetings with the Monday Market people, and I think
with the Monday Market co-chairs.
Right, and I think we have one more slated. Yes, which might be moving. You don't know that yet. Yeah, sorry. But that space is coming along really well. We're not actually going to go into the market because we're still working out some kinks in that one. So now I've come back out. I'm like at the bottom of that stair, and now I'm looking west, and the terrace is to the right. And to the left is actually the elevator banks that will take you up the West Tower. So this will take us out to the winter garden. But again, it's an indoor space connected to the outdoors with glass. And as you see walking down, there's opportunities for some seating and some places to hang out with these cool views. And this is that same hallway looking back the other direction. We're all on B2. Isn't this amazing? All this stuff, all on one level. Mm-hmm. So,
right, the pathway from the North Tower where Ken began the journey all the way to this spot.
It's all level B2.
It is very robust with seating opportunity, and it's quite an experience for everybody.
We wanted to show this image because, again, that indoor-outdoor connection, but this one actually has an opportunity for some seating areas that we're showing on the terrace that you see through the glass here. And this actually it's technically under the tower. So that space is actually covered, so it's because it's under the tower, but it's actually a 2-story space that is below, so actually will feel bright and airy. But you could potentially go out and hang out outside even when it's raining, and still enjoy the outside. And then finally, I'm getting to the end of the blue arrow, and we're getting to what we call the winter garden. So this is the interior of the winter garden. It's a 2-story space. I'm actually standing looking back towards what you see above is the B1 level. We have some glass, and what we're showing is potentially it's wood paneling up there on the B1 level above, which is some office space, and the sales center for Horizon House. But the space below is meant to be a flexible lounge type space that connects you to the park. We actually really like the idea, and we wanted to make this 2-story so you could really see the trees in the park and really be, feel like you're immersed in the park without actually having to go outside.
Right. One of the greatest benefits of the West Wing is the sense of feeling like you're in a treehouse. But unfortunately, there's no amenity spaces. You would need to visit the residents in those apartments, whereas now we're making that sensation available for all residents.
Right. So I'm now sort of under that B1 level overhang that we were showing. I'm kind of set back, and I'm looking back towards the park. So you're seeing through the glass, you're seeing those trees, and that's the trees of the park. And then we're also showing that we keep calling it the winter garden because our intent is to actually have indoor gardening. It's an indoor garden as well, so you're immersed in greenery when you're in this space. This is a space that's really got great solar access, meaning it's on the southwest side of the campus, so it actually has a lot of solar access. So we're imagining this to be a nice, warm, cozy, well-lit space. Really fantastic space to come to. I think it's going to be one of people's favorite destinations. We're really excited about making this really cool. And the final image of the interior space is just a view looking sort of back towards the other terrace, to get a view of the 2-story space and the indoor trees and all that stuff. This could be super cool. Again, the furnishings, the intent is a variety of furnishings. Mostly, our intent is probably mostly all movable, so it can be more flexible. This may not be showing that perfectly, but we're getting there. I'm now outside into where the garden terrace, I'm looking back towards that winter garden, and just outside the winter garden is where the garden plots are. Again, because of that solar access, it's a great place to have the plots. This is B2 still. Yeah. Yes, John. So like I said, we've consolidated all the garden plots into this one area wrapped around the winter garden because of that solar access, getting the best sun, and we've increased the number of plots commensurate with the percentage of how many apartments we've also increased. So there should be enough hopefully for anybody who wants to garden, even with the new residents. So now I've backed out from our bird's eye view. I've backed out, and what I've shown you is everything that's down. Is the mouse shown up yet? There it is. Down on that level, right? And you can see there's the Parkview Terrace that's above it. We didn't even talk about that. You can see above that is another terrace that's above that, that's right outside of dining. We showed a little bit of that the last time in March, but we didn't show you any images. And then you can see over to the right is where the garden plots are, over on the far right, outside of the winter garden. So again, we've enhanced and actually increased the amount of outdoor space and all of the outdoor space that we're showing you is a lot more accessible than and easy to get to than what you have today. Today you have the secret garden, which is where a lot of the garden plots are that you actually have to go through the garage to get to, right? And now the garden plots are immediately available right off of an elevator and or stairs. So finally, I'd saved the boring part for last. I'm going to show you real quickly what we're going to be starting to share with the city. So and I think I showed this to everybody last time as well. What's really great about, and probably one of the great things that you like about living here is your connection with the Freeway Park. So that's one thing that we're basically sharing with the city, is that one of the most important things about this project is that connection, right? And you can see that the other thing is that the development around the Freeway Park is pretty amazing. The image on the left is when Freeway Park was first built in 1976, and the image on the right is a few years ago, the last aerial we could find with the same angle. 2021, with even the Cielo apartments that actually just got finished, I think, at that time. And you can see the other apartments at the bottom of the screen, the Ovation apartments, who are actually now done, are just under construction. But there's quite a bit of development that's happened around the Freeway Park. But the cool thing about that is that there's that sort of, it's now a true urban forest, right? It's within, the trees have all grown up, as you can see. And it's really cool. It's really special. And so we're making sure, and that's what Eli had said it before. It's the urban treehouse. So that's our inspiration, is that this is an urban treehouse. And the Winter Garden and some of the articulation of the building all relates to that, the fact that we have this immediate relationship to the park. And the other thing that we have to show the city is what the massing is, right? What's the shape of the building? And we're not talking about like what the windows look like or what color the building is. So even though these images that I'm just about to show you all make the building look orange, it's not our intent that it's going to be an orange building. It's just a way for us to demonstrate graphically what the shape of the building is, right? So the tower that we're showing, and we have been showing you the images of, is basically the orange piece, and then at the bottom in white is the what we call the podium, which is actually the B1, level 1, B1, and B2 levels below. And there's probably another 50 sheets in the package that goes to the city. Some of it is more of these types of images. Some of it is actually more technical stuff, talking about the zoning code and how we comply with the zoning code and all that kind of stuff. And
I've seen those. I've seen that packet, and I assure you, these are the most interesting images.
right.
Yes.
But we're willing to go through them with you. That's what I was just going to say. But you probably will get bored silly by wanting to go through those. So now we're ready for questions.
Yes. All right.
Will there be coffee stands in the new areas?
How often do you need coffee stands?
Well, it's a long walk from the North Tower to the West Tower. How many coffee stands will we have along the way? That's definitely an operations question.
Yep.
And, obviously, as we get closer to opening up, we've got a couple years ahead of us. As we get close to opening up the project, we can explore.
And you see, we have a couple of spots where we have hospitality areas. We haven't designated whether or not there's going to be coffee served there or not. One of our favorites is, we call it, in the image that you see here on the screen, image number 3 is at University and 9th, which is where the university garage entry is. To the right, you see in the pictures the garage entry. To the left is actually the West Tower lobby, And there's a terrace just outside that on the south side, overlooking Peggott Corridor. We call that the Sunrise Terrace because of that solar access. The morning sun will hit that. So if there's going to be a coffee stand anywhere, Eli, it has to be there so you can get your morning coffee and sit out there and enjoy the sunrise.
Before we go to our next question, can I just it's Beth over here talking by the window. You're like, where's that boy? God, is that you? Just to clarify how we'll do questions to kind of keep it orderly. So the first question was from this section. Next one will be the middle section, then the far end. And then Risa or IT, can you clarify, can we take questions from outside or will the microphone not work out there? We can?
I'll check on outside.
Okay, so then we'll do this section, middle, far, and then Lauren will go out to the fireside lounge, and then we'll just keep repeating. So that will be our pattern. So next.
Okay. Will there be a healthcare clinic, and to whom will it be available?
All right, that's more of a leadership question, not a Mithun question. But the quick answer is no. And I could let somebody else answer it another time, just because it's probably best that we just keep the conversation focused on the design. Yeah.
So
No?
I wanted to ask about the what you call the hobby rooms, and are there going to be changes? And if so, will they be changed to accommodate the number of new people who are coming in? And also, who has had or will have input into those changes?
Everybody will have the opportunity for input, at the very least through a comment box. At the very least through a comment box that's over there by Terry Avenue. But we are reaching out to specific, committee chairs to feed us, a list of programming requirements.
So
that they have.
none of those decisions have been made?
Some have. Some have, yes.
Who-
yeah, and it's a long process. I mean, we're still, believe it or not, we're still not even halfway through the design phase right now.
Okay, I just think it's very important that you have input from
Oh,
the
we
users
have
who use that area.
so much input from the end users.
Not
yes.
as much as I think you are thinking you have, because several of us feel that
Eli,
there have
don't we
been
have a meeting
changes.
this week about
We
it?
have several meetings this week. We had several meetings last week with
No, but it's
residents.
specifically
So we
on
have
the
a
hobbies.
meeting
Yeah.
with Hobby Row room chairs tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Yes. So
I think the word amenity spaces confused us. A lot of people came assuming we were going to be seeing spaces where the potting room was going to be and where where the gardeners were going to work, and that's what we thought amenity spaces meant. And now we see it's lounge.
yeah, so there's lots of, that's a good question or good
Yeah.
point. There's lots of types of amenities. We can't show all of them all in one sitting. We can't. Yeah, we can't show all the amenities in one sitting. Right now, it's more of exactly what they showed. We're not there yet with the hobby spaces. They're important amenities, but we haven't fully designed enough to show them.
In fact, that's exactly right. I mean, we wanted to have the meeting with the chairs first before
Right.
we actually shared with everybody else. We're in the midst of, in those ones, we're actually want to meet with the chairs and figure out what the needs are. We've heard some of them through messages from Lauren and Eli. We're trying to test them out. We need some more feedback. So we haven't actually finished designing those spaces yet.
I have a question from Fireside Lounge.
Go for it, Lauren.
I have a couple of questions. The first one is, the distances between the main building and the new building are significant. How many, and as we are at this stage, it's already a long walk from the main building to the Monday market. Are that's an aside question, but are there going to be posts along the way where there may be some kind of supervision? In the building we are now, we have the front lobby, we have significant places like the gym and different places where there is observation by staff for less mobile people. That's one and a half questions. And the other one was, there's an enormous amount of glass. What is the plan for heating and cooling?
You
So,
want to handle questions 0 through 1.5?
and you'll handle the glass question?
I don't know. What do we want to say about the glass? I mean, it's achieving. The project needs to satisfy Seattle Energy Code, and so we're choosing products that have a sufficient R value.
Yeah, so the glazing actually will be, the Seattle Energy Code is one of the strictest energy codes in the country, if you didn't know that. So we have to meet that. Our goals we talked about the sustainability goals. Our goals are also to get off of fossil fuels. So the HVAC system is actually be an all-electric system and use what's called the heat pump system. So if some of you, maybe from your homes, you used to have, maybe had heat pumps, air-to-air heat pumps. So, and then there's the potential of connecting to a central system that would actually augment that, a centralized system district-wide, that we could potentially hook into and be even more efficient. So the amount of glazing overall, we're actually meeting energy code in terms of the percentage of glazing. What we're doing is we're trying to maximize the places where the glazing actually is the most benefit, right? So where you're connected.
And glazing is glass.
And just one other thing that I did forget to add to the 3.5 questions. At the far end of the new building, there is a significant staircase. The only place we have a staircase is here in the fireside room, and there is an elevator very close by.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any mention of elevators or alternative movement.
There's actually the pink that you see, the mouse is there now, is a shuttle elevator.
I know,
It's
but
right
where is it in
behind,
relation to the stairs?
It's right behind the stair. The stair is right here.
You got it. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and can I have one more question?
Oh.
I'm going to shove it in.
Okay.
In England, there is an award-winning new product, which is plastic and wood. There are alternatives to just using wood.
Okay.
That was for the decking.
For the decking. Oh, okay. A plastic wood. Yeah, we're looking at alternatives, including things like that. But it's a question of maintenance, safety, operations, as well as not just the aesthetics. We want it to be warm. We want it to feel like a home, but we don't want it to feel institutional. But it also has to last for a long time and be easily maintained.
Okay, we're moving to inside again. Well, Eli, the process was left, middle, right, fireside lounge, left, middle, right.
Heard from left.
Yeah, we did.
No, we did. The lady in the back.
I'm speaking.
Okay, so we're going to keep going with the same process. I'm over here
Thank
on the
you, Beth.
left. Here's a
Yeah,
question.
you got
All right.
to keep
Can
Eli
you-
in check.
Can you orient us a little bit better about the location of the Monday Market? What is it replacing that is current? Is it a build out, new, above, what? And also, is it on over like the garage, the dock? Is that where it is?
So
Where
the-
is it?
So the Monday Market, which is in this location right here, currently today is part of the West Wing,
Oh,
right? And it's
well, right now
which
it
is level
but I
B2,
mean, where will
exactly.
it be?
The Monday market will be in the same place in space, except for like maybe 2 floors up above that, closer to where.
What is there now?
In space, right
Apartments,
now,
apartments.
right, the apartments.
Apartments.
Right, we have
okay.
apartments.
Okay, and the other question is to lengthen the space of this room. Are you taking in the space that's just currently the library? No, just okay to the back. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Middle section.
Now
Does
we have a
anyone
middle
have a mic
section
for the middle
question right
section?
here. Lauren's coming.
Okay.
She's coming.
Have you done any tests to see what the tower, the sun exposure is going to affect the rest of the campus?
We've done some shadow studies. We're required to do shadow studies for that EDG package as well. So they're actually in that package. They're complex, so we didn't put them in this deck because they're hard to understand. But there are times when there are shadows. Most of the time that's in the winter time when there's going to be shadows no matter what. The tower itself, because it's roughly in the same place as the west wing, will cast the same shadows on the terrace as the west wing does, the new tower does. But what the city cares about is shadows that are being cast outside of your property. And your question is based on what shadows are being cast on your property.
Right. The question has to do how it's going to affect the apartments. Because clearly the light is going to be diminished because of the height and size of the tower.
Right. The north. Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
The north side of every building is like that now, and that won't change.
Right. The question was, how will the shadows of this new North Tower affect the apartments? So what Ken explained was that it has the same effect as the short west wing now on the garden terraces, but to answer the question is that there will be apartments that will now experience some additional shadows, being in the shadow throughout the day at different times of the day than how it's currently experiencing, right?
So you're asking. The question is whether or not. So if you live in the central tower, facing west, then am I going to be affected by the tower and any shadows? And the question is, the answer is, at some point, yes, you will, because the west tower is taller than the central tower, and the sun, the way it travels around, and at certain times of year, will be at low enough heights that it will be affected at some point. So there definitely will be a day in December, if the sun is actually out, that you may be in the shadow. Conversely, there will be days in the summertime when, even with the tower there, that the sun is high enough, and at certain points of the day, you'll still have sun in your windows. But it will just depend on which apartment you're in, and what time of day and what day we're talking about, how it affects you.
Okay, I've got a question. Could you talk a bit about the access that we're all going to have to Freeway Park and why it's going to be more secure than it is now?
Right, so we don't have a drawing to support this. I'll try to describe it. So essentially the entry point today is at level E, outside of the Monday Market kind of thing, and will essentially stay at that level. It connects you to that little walkway that connects you to the park. We're going to maintain that connection to that walkway. What we're doing, though, is we're providing some more gates so that that door will be behind a fenced-in area. The area that's below that, some affectionately call it the fire lane. Some of that fire lane, we're taking over. We're going to landscape some of that and create a fenced-in area, so it'll be more secure. So you'll have a secure gate to go through, and then a secure vestibule that you have to go through. So
But
be
the
double
access
checked.
will be the same access we have now with no additional access?
No additional access. Your other option would be to come out of the West Tower lobby at the very top of Piggott Corridor. So we'll have a connection right adjacent to that, to the corner of 9th and University, and at the top of Piggott Corridor, and you can go down the ramps from there, ramps or stairs.
And there will also be a door into the alley at the bottom of that one stairwell, although that won't be ADA at all. But it'll take you right out into the alley. That's an emergency exit. Yeah, emergency exit, right.
Is there anyone out in the fireside lounge?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm on, okay. Yeah, this is Don Mayer. I'm just wondering, this is not premature because it needs to be built into the facility. If there's any interest in ceramics, we have kind of a family connection and could probably furnish a couple of kilns. And I mention that now because it's a question of power to that end.
Are we donating those kilns, or are you trying to sell us those kilns?
No, donate is what I'm talking about, yeah. That's probably the least part of the expense. It's designing the power.
The power and making the space. We do have in the Hobby Road, there is a ceramics room planned for. So again, we haven't vetted all of that, but right now we have a ceramics room planned for.
Okay, the left section over here.
We'll get your number later for those kilns.
I did not see her hand. I apologize. I saw her hand. You will be next on the next time around.
I think everyone's interested in food. And you have not addressed at all the dining capabilities of the new West Tower. Can you tell us the size of the dining room, where it will be? Is it indoor, outdoor? And also, will the food be the same as the existing kitchen food?
That's a foul. That was 3 questions. So there's a restaurant, or what we're calling the clubhouse, on the 33rd floor in the top of the tower. And currently it is planned for dining, a lounge space, some meeting rooms, and a bar lounge type space, flexible bar lounge type space. That the dining room itself, again, we're still in planning, but the last we looked at it, I think sat 75 people. It's to augment the dining you have now. So right now you have it has a kitchen up there, up on the top floor. Right now you're dining on level 1 here, and the bistro that is being planned to be expanded, the bistro is being planned to be expanded. They will work all in tandem together, right? So that you have all 3 offering food opportunities. So the menu, we don't know yet, but the menu may actually be different for the top floor than it is there. So you have choices, I think is the idea. And thank you for nodding your head. Anybody, residents here, meaning if you live in the North Tower, can you go eat in the West Tower? Yes, absolutely.
On the last picture in your slides, you had the 6 exterior positioning of the West Tower. You had
University and 10th. I think you mean Terry. We don't have a 10th. One more.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I told you, I showed you this last time, and it's the same slide and the same mistake. And we still didn't fix it. Where's my note takers?
I think any civilized top of the building lounge ought to be able to offer a martini.
Grant, I will buy you your first martini on that.
Do we have anyone in the fireside lounge?
Yes. Can you hear me? To piggyback on the ceramics room, is there somebody who is chairing that committee that's coming to the meetings now?
Yes.
Good.
So Marianne counts, and then Ann Kelly is also coming.
And so there's an actual potter that's coming?
And Kelly.
Yes, Ann Kelly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, back in here to the left.
I'm on the garden committee, and I think what you've shown us has addressed some of our concerns, but I'd like to make sure of them. Can you go back to one of those pictures that shows the garden terraces? You called it something else. The community gardens, right.
This one.
Yes. The community gardens are not just for those of us who love to garden, but other residents come just to hang out there and enjoy the beauty of the flowers and so forth. I'd like to make sure that it is easy for them to get out there, because if they have to walk, a narrow corridor and a long ways to get to them, to get to those terraces, that would be discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And another point that we'd like you to be aware of is that in the summertime, we have what is called Sunny Mondays and other events that we host outside. And we like there to be a large open space where tables can be set up for that kind of community gathering. And right now that is done near those terraces so that everybody can enjoy the flowers that we have on the terraces. Mm-hmm. That initial area, what you're calling the sculpture garden, and that related space, seems as though it might work, but we want to make sure it's a large enough space that there can be that community gardening. And we would like you also to consider having some additional terraces in there besides that area that would probably be maintained by the professional gardeners, some additional terraces where we might have our residents do some gardening. Even if it is a shadier area, we can still produce beautiful garden terraces there for residents to enjoy.
Okay.
Do you mean terraces, or do you mean this terrace? Are you talking about, here's our plots now,
Right.
and this?
Yes.
You're talking about putting some in here.
Yes, that's right, John.
Not another terrace, but on the same terrace, but further away.
Exactly. Yes, John.
Those are good comments.
Good.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question from the central area here on food and dining. A question I have about the term clubhouse. Clubhouse implies members of a club. There's a lot of concern here about there being a separation of the community by virtue of the way you're designing and going to operate the dining room. And I know you don't operate the dining room, but there is a hope, I think, on the part of many people that there will be an equal opportunity, a democratic style arrangement for the dining situation, and that one isn't considered better as if there is a different menu in one place than the other.
That's a really good comment. I think our use of the word clubhouse was hoping that it was inclusive and not exclusive, but I see what you mean by that. It was supposed to be a clubhouse for everybody who lives here, not just the people in the West Tower. We can work on the terminology, but the intent is that everybody is welcome up there. And I hear that Grant is going to be buying everybody martinis.
Oh, gracious, gracious. We started out walking through the hobby area, which we call the activity rooms. At the end of that hallway is the residence council office, and it's very crowded, and I'm wondering if there is space being considered for that kind of area, and what about meeting rooms in the new building?
Good questions. Resident council office actually is being planned for. It's part of our meeting tomorrow also in that area. So it's our first pass at looking at the programming and locations of some of those things. So we know about that need. There's also some meeting rooms in that area as well that we're planning on. And then I think I mentioned there are other spaces where we do have meeting rooms, some of which we didn't show today. So, but on level 33, we added some meeting rooms. On level 1, we snuck in a meeting room in the base of the tower, which may or may not still be alive. Is it? Okay. And then on level B1, we also snuck in some extra meeting rooms.
An interesting statistic, which Ken and his team performed, the calculation is that although we're growing our independent living population by, I think, 14%, we will have an additional 40% square footage in meeting rooms with this project. So when residents have been continuously asking for more meeting rooms, we assure you this project will deliver.
Are there any questions in the Fireside Lounge?
Yes. We're increasing the number of residents that are going to be here. What are we going to do about the pool size and the gym size and the exercise room if you're going to have that many more people?
Yeah, Ken.
You got a pool? I'm joking. The pool, I don't think is getting bigger.
Not with this project.
Yeah. And then the exercise room also right now is not being planned to be bigger.
Yeah,
or is it?
No, it is. Oh, did I not tell you? Mithun needs to Mithun needs to design, come up with a new design for our entire wellness area. You know, definitely work with Lori Warfield Larson, and we'll, you know, think of a new program that'll expand the wellness area called Beam Center. You know, balance and mobility, balance, exercise, and mobility center. So, right, it's not part of the West Tower, but it is on the horizon.
Thanks, Eli. Thanks
right.
for letting us know.
Yes.
You knew, Sean. You knew. I just didn't know. Sorry.
A bane of existence here relates to elevators. And so all the smirks you hear are what we have to endure. However, I'm sure that the laws require that the apartment buildings or condos have a certain ratio of elevators to living people. However, those buildings, the only users of the elevators are the people who live in that building. And that's not true here, because the people who use the elevators going up to the 19th floor to get to our present Sky Lounge come from all the parts of Horizon House. And so there are these frustrating waits as, say, 70, 80 people coming from that may be a number a little bit high, 50, 60 people coming from an affair at the roof, it takes a long time both to get up and a long time to get down. And that's in addition to the troubles with the elevator, which has got, okay, and so my question is the elevators, numbers of elevators, for example, I live in the North Tower and I want to go to the 32nd or 33rd floor to have dinner, okay? And I'm bringing 4 of my friends, because that's all I have, okay? and I want to know, will I, will we be able to get there in a reasonable? I'm sure you understand the gist of my question. I think there has to be some kind of like a over. The number of elevators have to be in excess of the usual numbers for an apartment house.
We've done, I'll say, so he's asking about the number of elevators and the convenience,
because we have
inconvenience of having to wait for elevators in your community. And so he's hoping that we actually are, what we're doing about that, hopefully we're doing what's in excess of code.
Right.
So for us, for code, it says we need only 2 elevators, right?
However, for the new wing.
For the tower,
right.
For the tower. However, for the tower, we're doing 4. We're doing 3 passenger dedicated elevators and 1 service elevator. One of the issues you have in your north tower is sometimes your elevators get shut down because the contractors are using them for freight elevators, right? And it takes you down.
Or because they don't work.
Or well, I know that's the other issue. They don't work, right? The other thing we're doing is on the elevators that was asked about near the stair, we've added those shuttle elevators to hopefully, so we have 2 more elevators there that are connecting basically the amenity levels, level 1 down to level B2, and actually goes down for contractors' purpose, has to go down to the garage. But the majority of the time, it's probably going to be shuttling up and down. So you have a couple of choices there, which actually, hopefully, alleviates that traffic jam.
Thank you. Then I have another totally independent question, but you haven't said anything about assisted living, and what's the space provided, and what's the impact of all of this on assisted living?
So assisted living, which is currently located in the central and north into the North Tower,
right.
There's some work being done with that now. It's not part of the West Tower project,
right?
And so there's no assisted living in West Tower. So it'll be maintained.
That says something,
right?
Okay.
Yes. We have somebody. You've been waiting a long time.
I have.
And that's what you get for sitting in front.
Yeah. It seems as if from your design that the patio space does not equal what we have now.
It's greater.
It's bigger.
Where? It doesn't show it there. Level D has a lot of space.
So the footprint, the outside footprint of the property is the same right here. So these edges in plan view are exactly the same. We're bigger because we created this little prow here. So we poked out a little bit to make it bigger there. The other thing we did is where Parkview Terrace ends, right? We actually filled that missing tooth. We're going over the top of the loading dock and we filled in that. So Parkview Terrace itself has gotten bigger. And then the final thing we did, and again, that doesn't show on this plan, is we added the Sunrise Terrace to the south side. So we have an outdoor terrace on the south side of the west wing.
And yeah, probably the most interesting fact is that we will be able to host larger resident picnics than we do now.
Where?
Well, I mean, you have to attend the next presentation.
Yeah.
Right, it's up. So we were showing you B2 today, and that'll be up on B1. It'll be the extension of the Parkview Terrace.
Okay.
Yeah.
in a perfect world, and if everything goes according to plan, when will you break ground for the new tower? When do you anticipate, just for fun for us, the final opening day?
Do you want to do this?
Yeah. So tentatively, and we've got our design builder in the room, Don Lane from Anderson Construction. I believe your schedule currently shows that we're breaking ground in January of 2026, and that we will be opening the new West Tower early 2029. Sounds right. It's 40 months schedule. It's about a 40-month schedule.
Are there any questions in the fireside lounge?
When does demolition begin?
January 2026.
Fireside lounge, going once? Oh, they're coming.
Yeah. Breaking ground means breaking down the building. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first step.
The proverbial ground.
Yes.
Which might be the roof of the West Wing.
Yes. Yeah, this would work. Yeah.
Thank you. Just, I'm back again.
Oh. Oh, hello.
Hi. I just want to make one more point about the elevators in the new building. As it is, we walk to the dining room and we can walk there in a crowd from everywhere. There will be a dining room on the top floor. 3 elevators are probably not going to be enough.
Yeah, you'll still have the other dining room, John. So you have choices. And
in addition to the new dining room, there's going to be an extensive expansion to the bistro. So I believe we're at 144 seats between the bistro and the current dining room when the bistro's expanded. So there really is the increases that Eli was talking about in percentage-wise are pretty significant all around with amenity spaces compared to where we are today.
Okay. Left section here.
One of the things that hasn't been mentioned at all is resident storage space. And this, not just for the people who will be in the West Tower, but some of us who don't live in the West Tower or the West Wing have our storage space in the West Wing. And there's no indication of where the replacement for that storage space might be. Granted, it's not going to be available immediately, but storage space for residents seems to me to be an issue that needs to be at least mentioned.
Greg's going to answer this one.
Hello. Okay. You haven't heard from me yet, so hello. So there, currently right now, our plan is to replace all the existing resident lockers that are in the West Wing and also add additional lockers to that. Currently, we have 356 resident storage lockers that will be placed inside of the base of the West Tower at levels below the B2 level that we were describing today. But they will all, mostly will be consolidated. There will be some that will be spread in other locations within the garage, but the number that exists today will be replaced, and we will be adding more to help with that change. So,
what about the 40-month period?
That's an Eli question.
Right. I mean, we'll do our best to either find other space on site, which I can tell you is pretty limited, and that we will likely need to rent space off-site, and then obviously offer a service to help get you there and back. Unless you can come up with a better idea, I think that's essentially, yeah. John says to start downsizing now. That's not me. That was John Longress.
Marie Kondo, anybody? Does it bring you joy? Any more questions?
Any more questions on this side of the room? No?
Could you remind us when the integration of the bistro and the dining room will begin?
The new bistro we hope to begin tentatively July of 2024. Right. And then we think it's a 6-month project. Oh, well, tentatively we're saying 6. For construction, right. Yes, and testing. So hopefully we begin in July and have it ready by the holidays.
Eli, will that be the full integration of the bistro and the dining room and the removal of the executive offices and the completion of the lobby renovation?
No. We do not want to put the dining room and the bistro under construction at the same time because we still need a food service program going, so we'll do it in sequence. First with the bistro, and then later with the dining room.
So
and then the lobby, though.
So what will the cycle be? How long to complete both the bistro and the dining room?
Well, if we finish the bistro, we'll say tentatively at the end of 2024, we'll immediately start the dining room at the beginning of 2025, and that may be an additional, Sean, 6 months? Right, so mid-2025. Yes, Judy? Oh, and the lobby, to answer the question about the lobby. So a lot of staff space that is currently in the existing lobby, that'll actually be moved toward into the new West Tower project so that we can make room for additional mailboxes, an additional 152 mail cubbies and mailboxes and package capacity because, like it was mentioned earlier, we don't want to have a segregated community. We want to get the new West Tower residents to get their mail where everybody else gets their mail. And for that reason, we need to keep the lobby as office spaces until the new West Tower is finished, and then that staff move over and we make that new mailbox. So it'll probably be timed near the opening of the West Tower. The administrative offices, we hope that'll be probably timed closer to the, in line with the same timeline as the bistro. So the executive row needs to be vacant for the bistro to begin. And whether that means that the executive offices move over to the West Wing temporarily or until we find their permanent home sooner. Yeah.
I have a question in the back.
Hello, this is Ruth Yeomans, and I live in a studio in the Central Tower. When you start talking about off-site storage, for me in a studio, I'm up and down to my storage unit sometimes once a week, at least every 2 weeks, because I have absolutely no storage space in my studio. So I would highly request that the people who live in the smallest apartments be given the first priority for the on-site storage.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's a great idea.
We got out of sync. We went to the right and then the back, and then we'll do the middle, and then fireside lounge, and then back over here. So Lauren, you can do the middle.
I'm getting dizzy.
I have a follow-up question to Sam's earlier about getting to and from the dining room at the top of the West Tower. What consideration did you give for creating that dining space lower than on top of the building? Hypothetically, let's say on the 25th floor, just for the ease of traffic? Or was it the appeal of being at the top of the building?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure we considered middle of the tower at any point. I think it was either at the top or at the bottom was really our considerations. I think the appeal of the top was basically it's some killer views up there. You'll get the Mount Rainier view over some of the towers and stuff to the south. And we thought that if we put the clubhouse on the top, then that could be a shared view by everybody.
Are there any questions?
Sorry, just one other follow-up to that is, when you're building a tower, it's most efficient and cost-effective if the spaces are pretty consistent moving the way up through. So whenever you introduce something that wants to have like big open spaces, not having a lot of columns, not having a lot of plumbing chases into a space lower down, it can really interfere with the enjoyment of that space, because you have a lot of compromises that you have to make to the layout. So by being on the top floor, we're able to take this different use and really do what we really want to with it. It's a lot, and without adding a lot of cost. I think something that's more intermediate would definitely be something adding cost to the project as well.
We have an elevator consultant on our team, and we actually told them there was a restaurant on the top floor, and we told them, how many residents overall live in the community, not just the West Tower, and then how many levels were being served by those elevators as well. And so they did a study, and actually we made a recommendation, and we actually went back and said, hey, you realize this community, there's going to be a lot of people that have mobility devices, such as people in wheelchairs or with walkers and stuff like that. So you can't count on the capacity of the elevators to the level of, like you'd see in an office building, for instance, where we all just pack in and get to work. So he went back and redid his numbers, and so we're showing a level of service that is actually, I can't remember the level, excellent, thank you. I was going to say good, but I knew it was way up there. So it's a level of service that's excellent with all of those parameters.
And they did recommend 3 elevators, and we're installing 4, all the way to the top.
So it looks like we have
One
time
service.
for one more question. The Fireside Lounge was next. Did you have any questions out there? No Fireside Lounge?
We got one over here, though.
Okay, last question.
I have just a comment. I was once in San Francisco at the top of one of their taller buildings, in which they had a pavilion on the top, glass all around. It was a breathtaking experience, and I think this has a chance to be that. And I appreciate your going forward with the idea, and I'm sure it'll have martinis as well.
You want one more?
Yeah, I have one more.
Okay.
Has any consideration been given to the idea of staffing a restaurant on the rooftop? I know that Skyline, the restaurant at the top of their tower, the staffing problem has been mega serious.
Right, and that's a great question. And one of the things I kind of wanted to correct Ken on throughout this presentation is that it's not necessarily a restaurant. We will have a kitchen up there, and it'll be very useful for catered events. Whether or not we have a dinner program there, 5 times a week or twice a week, that still remains to be seen. But it's to be determined. But we will have a kitchen up there that will afford us that opportunity if we want to do that. Similar to our present Sky Lounge, but a lot better, because our current Sky Lounge, it has a very small kitchenette. And it's not, and it's currently not it's not operational right now, correct. But when it is, it's very small. This will be a full service kitchen. It won't be as capable as our main kitchen, but it'll definitely, do the job. Correct, right. Yeah.
martinis, but maybe not French fries. I don't think we're planning on a deep fryer up there. And that's why we were calling it a clubhouse rather than a restaurant, because we were trying to figure out a terminology that didn't say it was going to be a restaurant. It needed to be flexible. But now we have to come up with a better word than clubhouse. Pub? Public house? Yeah. That has other connotations to it too. Okay. Thank you, everybody.